Welcome to the Mind and Body Performance Podcast, the show where we explore what it really takes to level up your personal well-being. I'm your host, Jake Murphy, and today we're digging into the ego and how it may be preventing you from learning new things, allowing you to grow into a better version of yourself. Remember, I can only speak on my experiences, my lessons, my mistakes, my realizations. You may agree, you may not, which is totally okay. We are all just uniquely human, figuring it out as we go. Now let me ask you, has anyone ever called you a know-it-all? Or have you ever known something or felt like you knew something only to later on figure out that you're blocking yourself off from learning something new and important? This was me, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, first going to school. And I had a college professor who was extremely knowledgeable on exercise science, physiology, and understanding performance. And for me, coming in there, I had gotten a trainer when I was 17 years old. And I felt like my trainer taught me a lot to the point where I grew and I evolved. And I felt really good about what I knew in regards to training and what I knew in regards to life and lifestyle habits. And everything that I thought I knew just came down crashing on top of me. I wasn't performing. I was underperforming within my sport. I was neglecting the ability to learn from other people, this being from my professor. And then I was also ignoring my coaches from little things that they would tell me to do, because I felt like in my head that there was nothing that I could learn. And it's very challenging because when you first go to school, you're in a position where the ego comes out because you're vulnerable. You're in a state of vulnerability. You don't know anyone. Everyone's new. It's a new environment. You're first going to school. You're meeting all new people. You're meeting new professors. You're adjusting to your lifestyle of being on your own and being fully independent by yourself, having to make sure that you're cooking each day, make sure you're getting proper hydration, make sure you're sleeping on time. And then on top of that, you're juggling between school, you're juggling between practice, any extracurricular activities that you decide to partake in when you are first at school. And you're constantly in this performance mode, or what I found myself in was constantly in this performance. I had a really good friend group, but for a while, especially as a freshman, you don't really know who you are yet in school or who you are as a person. I'm a big believer that our parents and coaches and teachers and friends really shape the human being that we are when we first get to school. And now I'll say that throughout my lifetime, I'm extremely fortunate to have been around extremely great people. But I've developed a lot of really good traits and habits. And then I've also developed a lot of poor traits and habits that when I first got to school were all just piled up. And think now, like when I coach, I talk about how we sometimes brain has just this piled up thought. It's like a spinning wheel. It's constantly maneuvering. It's like a globe that's like a sphere that's just constantly going. And if we don't take each thought and go through it and have an understanding of it, then it's just constantly spinning on this wheel. And then we can't even really express the way that we even feel. And this is what happens when the ego is in full control, is that we might feel confident, but really the ego is also easily hurt. So like, for instance, if somebody was to coach me or critique me, I used to get angry or upset, and I used to shut them out, or I used to silence myself because I didn't like when somebody would tell me that I was doing something wrong, or that I could do something better, or that I could learn this new thing. And because I didn't like it, because my ego didn't like it, it would upset me. And in doing so, my actions off of that upset behavior would then be to silence, would then be to grab hold of the ego even tighter, because for a while it's protecting me. In a way, the ego is protecting you from your most vulnerable side, which is going to be that humility side. That humility is that caring, it's that nurturing. It's that piece of you that is kind, open, loving. And then you got the ego that's like that, it's controlling. It's aggressive. It is a know-it-all, essentially. And I reference this all the time within my coaching. It's a lot about tapping into both sides. If you just have humility when you're performing in athletics, you're gonna get walked all over. You're almost like a doormat. People are gonna walk all over you if you just approach each day with 100% humility and zero ego. If you approach games, practices with that ego sense, you might have really good moments. You might have really good plays. But you're going to be missing out on reaching your max potential because you can't tap into the humility and listen to your coaches, or be able to see what another person is doing and be able to incorporate that within what you do and within your practice. Something that I also used to see, and especially in sports, I'm going to reference lacrosse a lot on here, is, I used to always question, why is this person performing better than me? I felt like I was more athletic. I felt like I was more coachable. I felt like that I had a stronger mind. But why are they outperforming me? Well, it's because they have something that I don't in stick skills, in lacrosse IQ. But for so long when I was at school, I ignored the fact that that was my weakness. My weakness was that I didn't understand the game and I didn't have stick skills to even be able to perform the game properly. And I also didn't have the hips. So part of me didn't have the body. You know why? Because for a while I was training like a bodybuilder. And now within my social media, I do lots of posts about why we should be lifting sports specific rather than lifting like a bodybuilder for lacrosse athletes. And the reason why is because I struggled with it for such a long time. For what reason am I training like a bodybuilder, building myself? Yes, it's feeding the ego. It's feeding the ego because I could see results real quick. I go in there, I tell my mind, I tell my body, hey, listen, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to do 20 push-ups, or I'm going to do this superset. And you're going to be able to do it. You're going to be able to do it almost every single time. And that's something that I was comfortable with. I understood it. But then you go ask me to pick up my stick and go do inside finishes inside the crease, and I was uncomfortable. And whenever I see that uncomfortable, or saw that uncomfortable, I'd run away from it. I'd be like, oh man, no way. I'm running over here. I'm gonna go back and feed my ego and lift instead. And yeah, I mean, it boosts. It gave me a boost. But overall, was it improving my performance on the field? Absolutely not. And then to relay back to my college professor, who I didn't listen to for my first 3 years of school because I was this know-it-all. I was this person that knew everything. Oh, what does this guy know about training that I don't? He's 45 years old. He's a trainer. He is a professor. He reads a lot of books. But I felt like I knew everything. What the heck? Now I look back at myself and I get upset sometimes because I'm like, wow, imagine how much you could have learned prior to that. For example, one thing that I really learned from him, and now this is at a time where I began to make strides and understanding the differences between the ego and the person and humility is he referenced once upon a time that anticipation is the ultimate teller of field speed. So like, for instance, you can have Usain Bolt speed or LeBron James speed on the court. But if you don't have anticipation within the mind, you're going to look slow out there. So for me, I was never the biggest, fastest, strongest person on the field, although I always worked towards that. But I think something that helped me was after I heard that, I was like, okay, anticipation. How can I anticipate plays? And for me, playing a wing, I was on the wing. How can I anticipate where the ball is coming out so I could go make a play on it? And for that, I'm extremely grateful that at that time, I had opened myself up to learning something new. Another thing, my coach used to always tell me things. Coach Eric Wolf used to tell me things all the time. Hey, listen, your stick skills need to improve. Your IQ needs to improve. You need to play wall ball. You need to play over the summer. I ignored it, and I kept fueling my ego. All right, I'm going to go lift. I'm going to go build muscle. Guess what? Now I'm 25 years old. All I got the rest of my life is to exercise. That didn't go nowhere. So now I'm looking back, I'm like, wow. Within that time, I should have absolutely been training more sport specific. But again, there's no regrets. Because in that, it's opened me up to this new path. And now I can coach and I can help athletes and I can help people train both their mind and their body in a way that they can improve their performance. Whether it's for their sport, whether it's for their children and their families, whether it's for their career. And that brings me extreme joy. But it all started with this dropping of the ego, because if your ego is out, you're not going to listen to anybody. And if you don't listen to anybody, you're not going to learn. If you look up on the internet, what is the number one way to learn? I guarantee you the number one way to learn is to listen. You want to learn something new? Listen. You want to learn someone's thoughts or learn more about somebody else? Listen to them. You want to solve an argument that you're having with another person? Listen to them. That's the only way you're going to learn. The only way you will ever learn, if you're listening to a teacher, the only way you're ever going to learn in a school or in class is to listen. The only way you're going to become the best version of yourself is to listen. And that was an extreme lesson that I learned throughout my lifetime, is that I need to drop the ego and listen to other people, because other people spend time learning new things that they could then share with you. And sometimes, and this happens also, is sometimes you're listening to people and they might not know a lot about the topic. And they're just sharing their opinion. And that's okay too. You'll still learn from it. For instance, someone might be sharing something, they might not have all the answers, but they just might be expressing thought. And then all of a sudden you can learn oh, wow, well, that's really not how this goes. For instance, I was having a conversation with someone in the sauna, and they were talking to me about weight loss. And they were saying how we were talking about the difference. And to be honest, I see both. But a lot of it was, hey, for weight loss, we could eat a lot of protein, which I think a lot of protein is definitely important. That's actually the number one thing for a weight loss journey, because that's going to increase your lean muscle mass. And the more lean muscle mass that you have, the more fat loss you're going to have, or the faster your metabolism is. So then the more food that you'll be able to eat and the more calories you're going to burn throughout the day. So it heightens your resting metabolic rate. So I do think that protein is extremely important. But as far as the macros for whether to go more carb based or more fat based, Who really knows? I think both work. There's people that believe in ketogenic diets. That's keto, where they enter ketosis, and that works for some people. There's people that eat carbohydrates and very low fats, and that works for people. But being open to hearing both sides, then that goes into relay that into politics. I see the ego a lot in the politics because a lot of people feel so strongly about what they believe in, their beliefs, but they feel so strongly about what they believe in that they're limiting their opportunity to learn from the other side and why the other side feels so strongly. You got two extremely strong point of views and perspectives. If you're not willing to open up to hearing the other side and why they might feel this way, you're going to be missing out.